Okay, so now we have the image in our composition. I want to see if the image is as big or bigger than my composition. Because remember that whenever I produce my final movie, it's going to be the size of the composition. So in case the image is bigger, I'm not really going to see the whole thing. So I can select my composition and press Control plus and Control minus like I do in Photoshop to zoom in and out, right? I can also click on the space bar, again like Photoshop, and then you can pan in and out. Now, if I am in my arrow tool here, or selection tool as it's called, you can scale up and down any item, but preferably press Shift so that you keep this constrained in proportions. Alright? So here, because I have this border, I'm going to scale it up a bit more so that I don't see that border anymore, and zoom in. So if I look down here, I'm seeing 100% of my size. Again, instead of pressing Control plus and minus, you can choose whichever magnification. So that's from down here. So that's the zooming factor. It's not really increasing or decreasing the size. It's like getting closer or further away from the image, like in Photoshop. Alright, now remember when we chose full resolution at the beginning, if I go here, I can change that. So in case my computer is getting slow, because I have a lot of things happening, I can go to half, and the quality of the image will go down to half, third, and quarter. So it really gets low quality, but this doesn't really affect the rendering because you can render still at high quality, but this is good for playing back the animation once we create an animation. So the playback speed will be faster while I'm testing out, but the rendering will still be at high quality. Alright, so let's go back to full. Lower this down a bit. Now, if you notice, I can move the image around, but what if I wanted to fix the position so that I don't really have to worry about moving it around? Like we can do in Photoshop, Illustrator, and all the other stuff, we can go here in the timeline and lock, which means that now we can no longer move the image around or the movie around. Alright? If I unlock, I would have access to that again. But otherwise, if I locked, it means that I can no longer change its position, which is a good thing. Here, you go to the lock command with the layer. So if I get another image, let's get the something else. Let's get the car. And again, I'm going to take the car and drag it down. So now, let's zoom out. I see also the car is too big. So I'll scale it down, press Shift. Let's put it smaller than the other one and place it here, for example. You would see that you cannot move Bugs Bunny, but you can move the car because the car is not locked. So if I click here, the car is now locked, and so forth. So whichever one you select, that's going to be the one you lock and unlock. Now, if you look also, you would see that the car is above the Bugs Bunny image. What if I wanted to reverse the order? To reverse the order, I just click on one of them. Let's unlock it first. I click and put it above BMW. So now the Bugs Bunny image is above. So I can go like this and really see the order of my layers. Again, if I bring BMW above Bugs Bunny, it's going to come on top, just like you do with the layers in Photoshop. So all Adobe products share similar functionality. That's why it's a good thing to learn Photoshop at the beginning and then move on to the other software. Another thing I can do is actually show and hide layers in my composition. So here I'm hiding Bugs Bunny, I'm hiding the car, and so forth. Now, by clicking on the visibility from here. Another thing I can do, so we have seen the lock and we have seen the hide. here we have something called solo layer. So if I click here, you see that's the BMW layer. If I click here, I'm soloing out BMW, which means that I'm only seeing that. So everything else gets hidden in case I wanted to focus my work on one of the layers. If I unsolo and solo Bugs Bunny, it's going to be just that one. Let's get other images just to get a better idea. So we'll get, let's say this one. We'll drag it down and scale it down. Alright, so let's say that we want to see this landscape without the rest. In that case, we solo it like this, and once we unsolo, the other parts will come. Now here, if I look, I see that the names of the layers are the same as the names of the images or movies that I'm using them. So it might be a good idea to actually change the names, because I have a long name and it's not really descriptive of what I need. So in case I wanted to rename this, I have to select it and press Enter on my keyboard and type, let's say, Bugs Bunny. I select this one and press Enter and type BMW, and do the same for that one, press Enter and type Landscape. So that's the way you actually change the name. It doesn't change the name of the original image, just the name of the layer in your timeline. So this is how you have different layers in your timeline, and how you actually place them, and how you can lock one so that you can work with the others more easily. What I'm going to do now is create a little animation with this so that I see the images moving and not static in place like this. So what I did so far is similar to what you can do in Photoshop, which is getting layers and scaling them up and moving them and so forth. So now we're going to see the extra element that After Effects provides, which is creating an animation, which is something extremely easy to do. As I said, an animation is a series of moving images. These images are going to move in time. So I have to take the time into consideration. And remember that the time for my composition here is 4 seconds. So that's my time slider here. I'm starting at 0 seconds. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the time or the length of my composition. At any time, I can change it by clicking here. So now if I go here, my time for the animation, so whatever I will render or take out from After Effects will have a 1 second duration. Let's stick to 4 seconds for now. Up here, you can change the zooming factor. So if you bring this slider down, you are zooming over this area. And you can go and change the zooming area. If you bring it back, you are seeing the whole thing. It will make a bit more sense once I start to animate. So, but that's very important here. That's the time of the composition. So that's what we'll render. I will render a 4 second movie because that's the time that I set here. If I go to composition and composition settings, I can change that time numerically from here, or I can change it from over there. So if I set it, say, to 6 seconds and press OK, now I have, let's stretch the zooming factor now. I have 6 seconds, but you see that the images that I brought in will not extend to 6 seconds because they were at 4 at the beginning. So if I scrub the time, while I am within the 4 seconds, I am seeing the images, but beyond this, they disappear because they don't exist anymore beyond 4 seconds. It's very simple to actually stretch them up so that they will still exist beyond 4 seconds. So this is, this is locked, so I have to unlock it. Yeah, you look down here, this is the time range of every layer, right? What you can do is change the beginning time. So now, for example, if you look at the landscape, it will not start at the beginning because it's empty here. Yeah, that's the existence time. That's the existence time. It exists in the movie, in the composition, when you have the red bar. So far here, I don't have that red bar, so it doesn't exist. So now it will exist. And I can move this around to tell when you want to see that. So let's say at the beginning, I just want to see Bugs Bunny. Then I want to see the BMW. So I'll restrict the time range of BMW. And then I want to see the landscape. So if I scrub now, and let's hide Bugs Bunny after some time. So we go like this. So at the beginning, we're seeing Bugs Bunny because that's the layer. Then after a while, we're going to see the BMW. Let's make it start right away. And after that, we have the landscape. So if we scrub now, this is called scrubbing the time. Bugs Bunny, and then you see we have some overlap here. All right, we have some overlap. In case we wanted to see how much we have the overlap, we can zoom in. And there's the overlap. So it's just one frame. In case you wanted to remove that, you can just drag it out. And now you have no more overlap. So you're switching from one to the other right away. Yeah, just wait. Let me finish what I'm saying. And I'm going to make some overlap here. So now we're seeing both at the same time. Let's zoom out a bit. And I'll make another overlap here. So now we're seeing the landscape and the car and then just the landscape. All right. And I don't want to stay till 6 seconds because I have nothing left. Or maybe I can add some text. Let's add some text that will start here and say that this is my movie. So I'm going to go here, just like you do in Photoshop, horizontal type tool. I'll click, and I'll type something. Let's say my first movie. And that's the movie that I have. And you see that when I actually created the text options showed here, which means that I can change the font of the text. Let's keep that one. I like it. And we can change other stuff for the text. Now, what I want to do is click here so that the options for the text disappear from here, so that I have more space to work with. Anyway, if I scrub the time now, I see that the text is there all the time. The text layer has a different color than the images. It's red, but you can actually click and choose whatever you like here. It doesn't really matter. It's just there as a visual differentiation from the other layers. But if I want it to appear at the end, I can just drag the start of my text layer over there. And now if I scrub the time, I'm going to have this. Let's add another another text. You see that I have my first movie here. Instead of creating a new layer for text, I can just duplicate this and change the text. I will have to. Or copy paste, it's the same. If I press Ctrl D, I can duplicate. So that's the new one. Let's write here my first movie, but it's not that good. Yeah, I just go to my arrow tool and bring it down. I can use the extents with a shift, move it down here. Let's say I want to change the color of the text. I'll just double click and press OK. And I'll just move the time here, the start time. And now I want to preview what I have. I click on the RAM preview, click. So the first time it plays is a bit fast depending on your machine, and then it plays in real time. So the frame rate is 25. So that's the speed of the movie when you are gonna render it out. It's nothing explosive so far, but you get an idea on how you can add layers, how to change their time, and how to add text to your composition.